It's a beautiful Tuesday morning outside, but I'm not one to enjoy the cold weather. Let's turn up the heat. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. On today's show, we have the official debut of Turn Up the Heat. This is a weekly segment that I'm going to be coming out with where I go over 5 hot takes involving Commanders and the Commanders players and team and future and all that stuff. And I'm going to rank these takes on how hot or cold they actually are. So we're going to go through this. We're going to get some divisive opinions, okay? The term hot take is literally in the show name, so don't get mad if I say something that you don't agree with. But please do go to the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are on these takes as we go through them. And if I say something's a cold take, it's not happening, and you think it's a hot take and it's spot on, make sure you leave me your thoughts down there below. As always, guys, I do record these videos to get your input, so go ahead and do your part. Leave your comments below. If you enjoy this, make sure you do leave a like button as well. Always trying out new stuff on the channel. And without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get right into it. So we're going to start us off. The first ever edition of the Hot Take Show. What's it going to be?
Bill is already a star.
Okay, so this is an interesting take here. He had a very good first game. Let's get that out of the way. Rushed for 80-something yards on only 10 carries. Had 3 carries in double digits, so 3 carries better than 10 yards. Had a 42-yard run that was longer than Brian Robinson Jr.'s career long, which was 40 against the Titans last year. But we need to temper expectations. A star? No, not even close yet. It's one game, and although it sounds superficial, this type of stuff matters. Him being drafted in the 7th round is not the same as him being drafted in the 1st round. He can produce, he can become a star player from being drafted in the 7th round, but he's not entering the league with the same level of pedigree. If a Bijan Robinson had a really slow start to his career, you would say he's still got superstar potential, right? With Bill, any superstar potential would be him greatly exceeding the average of where he is drafted. Again, I was super impressed with Bill, just as I have been throughout this entire offseason and training camp and all that. I said this in my video yesterday. He's patient, but he's decisive. He does a great job of waiting for the blocks to set up, but as soon as he senses that there's an opening, foot in the ground, one cut, bursting through the hole, he's gone. If Terry McLaurin had decided to block a little bit, he would have scored on that run from the end zone the other day. The 42-yard run would have been a 90-something yard touchdown run if Terry actually gets up in his man and puts his hands on him. He's very good. He's a relentless player. The motor's always running. The legs are always churning. But with all this being said, we don't want to put expectations on the kid that are so heavy that ends up actually slowing him down. That we do a disservice to him. He had 40 yards deep into the 4th quarter yesterday. He had 40 yards until he got that big play at the end of the game. Also, there's a pretty solid chance Chris Rodriguez Jr. gets elevated here in the near future. The Commanders elevated Michael Deeder. I think that could have been just because of how strong the Giants' defensive line is. They also elevated Chris Moore because Terry McLaurin still knocking the rust off after he had been holding him from his contract. Once Deeder goes back down, once Chris Moore goes back down, could you see a Chris Rodriguez Jr. elevated to the team? Yeah, you could. With Jeremy McNichols, barely got any offensive work yesterday. It was pretty much exclusively special teams. Do the Commanders decide that they have enough special teamers with Nick Ballore and Tyler Owens and Colson Yankoff and these other players? Yeah, maybe. And Chris Rodriguez could get elevated, and he could be splitting carries with Bill now. And the Commanders are also going to face tough run defenses in the near future. You've got games against the Chiefs. You got games against the Chargers. We know the division. So, again, I love Bill. He's got all the potential in the world, but right now this is a cold take. We need to see a lot more before we call him a star.
John Bates is a top 10 tight end.
John Bates is one of the 10 most impactful tight ends in the NFL. So this is a really thought-provoking take, and it requires a certain level of nuance, and it requires you to really dive deep into what is the value of a tight end. Elite pass-catching tight ends can change an entire offense. We saw that with Brock Bowers, right? Any semblance of competency that the Raiders had in the passing game last year was pretty much exclusively through him. Jacoby Myers, too. I'll put him in there because Jacoby Myers is actually an extremely underrated receiver. But Brock Bowers single-handedly changed the Raiders' fortunes. When Travis Kelce was at the peak of his powers, yes, he had Tyreek Hill, but we saw Kelce even after Tyreek had left, and we saw how the Chiefs' offense flowed right through him. No run-blocking tight end is ever going to do that. But when I look at when I look at when I look at his involvement in the Commanders' big plays already in this very short season, on Chris Rodriguez Jr.'s explosive run against the Bengals, the 40-yarder, John Bates was all over it. On Bill's GT counter against the Bengals, he was all over that. Blocked two guys at once, opened up big time. In this first game against the Giants, he's making a crucial block on the Deebo Samuel touchdown. He's making a crucial block on the Bill Croskey-Merritt touchdown. He's making a crucial block on Bill's explosive run from the end zone. He's got his hands all over the big plays that are happening on the ground. And this does require the Commanders to sustain their ability to run the football. And while Bowers can single-handedly change a passing attack, Bates can't single-handedly change a rushing attack. Right? If the offensive line is awful, he's going to start to fly under the radar, like he did in the early parts of his career. He got the contract extension, obviously, which means the team saw him, but to the fans, the media, and just the eye test, like the initial, hey, I saw you stand out there. When you're with a terrible offensive line and a running game that's not that good, of course, you're not going to notice a blocking tight end. But I say all this to say that I went through and I made a list, and I came up with this list of players who are definitively more valuable than John Bates. Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Trey McBride, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, TJ Hockenson, Sam LaPorta, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, David Njoku, and then I said we'll see about Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. Let's split them. Let's say one of them works out. So we're at 12. Those guys are all definitively more valuable than Bates, in my opinion. Now we get into the tiers of the Evan Ingrams, the Jonnu Smiths, the Austin Hoopers, guys in that sort of realm. And obviously, they're all more dynamic than Bates in the passing game, but they're also the fourth or fifth options in their receiving games. And so my question here is Bates top 10 might be a bit of a stretch, but top 15? I don't think this is the worst take in the world. It's not something that I can fully go to court and argue for my life on, but I don't think it's a terrible opinion to have, in all honesty. Top 15, top 20 most valuable tight end in the league, I think he's in that class.
Conerly will shut down Micah Parsons.
Again, some very interesting takes here. If I do say so myself, this self-gas, I don't even know what we're doing here. I came up with all these. Of course, I like them. This one, we're starting to get hotter. And I actually really believe in this because I believe so heavily in Abdul Carter. Now, Micah has proven, obviously, much more than Abdul Carter has in the NFL. Abdul Carter played one game. I think he had half of a sack. And Micah's the Defensive Player of the Year favorite if you're to look at betting odds. But, man, the way Abdul Carter moves, he's just a freak. If you go back and watch the All-22, whether he was standing up over the center, whether he was a three technique, whether he was coming off the edge, he is so fast. It doesn't look human. I compared him to one of my friends the other day. One of my friends I was texting, I said, I liken him to Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose, he ended up getting so many knee injuries and season-ending injuries and getting his career derailed early on because, simply put, the human body was not made to move the way Derrick Rose's did. He would stop and start and change angles so quickly that it was just too much for his tendons to handle. And he was tearing his ACLs, and he was blowing out his knees, and all these problems were popping up because he was simply so fast and applying so much torque that his body couldn't keep up. It's different with football. It's not all as much stop and start and sudden shifts, but Carter moves in that way where he gets to full speed so fast. He looks like a sprinter. If we're talking about the football field, he looks like a receiver, or he looks like a cornerback with the ability to stop, start, get in and out of routes. And he's also fluid, but he's also strong as a bear. So genuinely, I think Abdul Carter could be as good as, if not better than, Micah Parsons. I say all that to say, I think Abdul Carter could be the best edge rusher in the NFL within 2 seasons. We'll see what happens with Myles Garrett. We'll see what happens with Max Crosby and TJ Watt. And this is not to disrespect them, but at the very least, Abdul Carter will be with them. That's what I'm saying right now. He is in that class. What we have heard from this coaching staff and the players around Josh Conerly is that the kid does not repeat the same mistakes twice. You just got as good of a look as you're going to get this entire season. And no disrespect to Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary, because that's one hell of an edge rusher pairing. But I don't think there's a defensive line in this NFL better than Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter. Conerly just got looks at Abdul Carter, and he got burned. Kayvon Thibodeau bowed him over, kind of walked him back into the quarterback so Jaden couldn't throw the ball. Carter got past him, ended up getting a sack or a pressure on that play. Can't remember which one. But he saw those looks. He got the notes on them. Carter and Parsons play in very similar ways. They can both be lined up in a 3 technique. You're standing over the center on 3rd down. You're going to see some movement from that Packers defensive front, a Packers defensive front that did an excellent job against the Lions. I think that firsthand experience in the baptism by fire, combined with Conerly's ability to quickly adapt and learn from his mistakes, and also, again, no disrespect to the Packers defensive line because it's very solid, but it is not what the Giants have to offer. So can you afford to throw a chip? Can John Bates help out? Can Zach Ertz help out? Can the running back, can Luke McCaffrey from the slot chip in with a chip? Can you slide the protection in his direction because you don't have to worry about a Dexter Lawrence in the middle, especially since the Packers traded Kenny Clark? Can you get Alec Reddy and Biotish to do a half slide over to help him out? All these things make me confident in Conerly's ability to hold up against Micah Parsons. Not saying Parsons going to have a terrible game. He could still end up with a sack, but I think Conerly will have a good game, and I think the Commanders' offensive line will do a good job, just like they did for the most part against the Giants. Obviously, the Giants won their reps, but when your defensive line is that good, that's going to happen. I still have faith in Conerly, and I have faith in this offensive line on Thursday night.
Luke McCaffrey will be inactive.
Oh, man, here we go. Is Luke McCaffrey going to be inactive by week 8? That's the timeline I'll put on it. Sadly, this might be true. Now, I don't want to call myself a Luke defender because it's not that I stick up for Luke. I'm a defender of logic. I guess that makes me sound very full of myself, and I'm not trying to insinuate that I'm smarter than anybody. What I'm saying is logically, when you invest in a 3rd-round pick, you're not going to give up on them instantly. You're not going to give up on them in a short window, right? It's simply too much from the value of the pick to the literal value in terms of the money that you're giving that person with their rookie contract and the potential, the McCaffrey family name. We can joke about it. The McCaffrey family name plays into this. Adam Peters connection plays into this. There's just the athletic profile of Luke McCaffrey. It all factors into this because at his best, Luke is a 6'2" receiver who can hunt mismatches. And if he gets a little more fluid with his routes, he's an intelligent player. He played quarterback. He has a connection with Jaden Daniels. He knows where to pop up in the right spots. All this stuff can be true. That's the best. That's the best possible outlook, the big picture stuff for Luke McCaffrey. What reality is, not potential, not the future, what is happening in the present, the reality right now is that he got 5 offensive snaps in week 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 snaps on offense in week 1. That was lower than he got at any point during his rookie season. He averaged 22.7 offensive snaps during his rookie season. The lowest he got all year was 8 against the Detroit Lions. I think he might have gotten 9 against the Buccaneers just before that. But every other game, he was in at least double digits. Of his 5 offensive snaps in that Giants game, all 5 of them were on run plays. He was put out there as a run blocker. Now, Luke did have the biggest special teams kick return of the day. Very nice job. Got the ball out to the 39-yard line. We know he's good on kick coverage. He's a good blocker for a receiver. But, man, with all that being said, that does not justify being a 3rd-round pick. And the Commanders, look, they're going to have to figure this whole situation out because here's your breaking update. Kendrick Bourne has decided to sign with the San Francisco 49ers. So take him off the list of the possibilities. The Commanders, yes, Chris Moore played, but they only kept 5 receivers on their active roster. It was or on their 53-man roster, excuse me. It was Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey. Those were your picks. Matter of fact, speaking of Jalen Lane, give me 1 second here. Let me see how many offensive snaps he played because he had 2 targets, 1 drop, 1 catch. He played a total of 21 offensive snaps. Looking at it right now, 14 pass plays, 7 run plays. Compare that to Luke. Again, 5 total plays, 0 on passes, 5 on run blocking. Luke has fallen down to 5th in the pecking order. And if they're going to keep elevating Chris Moore, maybe are they going to elevate Jacory Brooks? Are they going to sign another free agent? Are they going to make a trade to make this offense even more explosive? Probably not. The last one seems a little unrealistic. But could we see Jacory Brooks on the roster? Could we see Chris Moore? Yeah. And Luke, he's right now, I think he's only dressing for his special teams value. I still want to believe in him because, again, it's a valuable pick. A 3rd-round pick is valuable, and you want to believe in the talent that you take at that position. But I can only go off of what the coaches tell me. And when they play him for 5 snaps, it tells me that they don't trust him very much on offense right now. So, unfortunately, this is a pretty spicy take and one that's probably growing hotter by the minute. Luke McCaffrey inactive by week 8.
Deebo Samuel will lead the team in total yards.
So this is one that I'm excited about, and it's one that I'm ready to push my chips to the center of the table on. I am going to agree. This is my hot take coming out of week 1. Deebo leads the team in total yards. So how does he get that done? Well, he has to beat Terry McLaurin. Terry's pretty much, I would doubt Terry's going to have a single rushing yard. Maybe, you know what? Maybe he gets 20. But it's basically all going to be from the passing game. You're going to have to beat the running game, which I think Jaden Daniels going to lead the team in rushing yards again. I don't think it's going to be Bill getting a 1,000-yard season. I don't think it's Chris Rodriguez Jr. getting a 1,000-yard season. I think it's going to be Jaden somewhere in the 800 to 900 region once again. So basically, Deebo, I think, has to get a minimum 1,000 total yards here, total being rushing plus receiving. So what am I basing this off of? Well, in week 1, we saw Deebo, and his usage was very high. And yes, you can explain some of that with Terry being a little rusty and not getting his full volume of snaps. Bill only getting 10 carries, CRod not even getting the chance to play. All of that is true. But I don't see Deebo's role in this offense changing all that much. Injuries could play a part here. But as far as what Deebo's going to do, he's going to be valuable just because he's so unpredictable. He can pop up in the slot here. He can come in motion or an orbit motion, or he can line up in the backfield, or it could be a jet sweep, or it could be a bubble screen, or it could be a deep crossing route. You can't track this guy. He is so important to the offense because he does so many things that he unlocks different routes and runs for not only himself, but for his teammates. And he strains the defense because defense has to put so much attention on him, not because he's the best player in the world, as good as he is, not because he's an offensive player of the year candidate, but because you never know where he is going to go. He got 96 total yards in this opener. If he's going to get to 1,000 yards, he needs to average 56.5 total yards for the rest of the season. So 45 receiving yards, 11 rushing yards per game. Can he do that? I don't see why he couldn't. The 96 total yards, I believe that was broken down into 19 rushing yards and 77 receiving yards. Heck, he might lead the team in targets. Again, not because he's doing Terry's job of picking up these 15-yard digs or these go balls that are 50 yards down the field, but because he's going to get these screens. He's going to get these drags. He's going to get looks. And I saw him way more involved in intermediate and middle field passing game than I had expected in week 1. So with everything I've seen, granted, limited sample size, sure. But when I think who's going to be an important player when you go on the road on a short week to Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers, who are a really good team, probably Deebo, the guy who's been in 2 Super Bowls, the guy who's played at Lambeau before, the guy who's physical, the guy who wants the ball, the guy who makes plays as soon as the ball is in his hands, the guy who gets yards after catch, the guy who the coaching staff trusts as a kick returner. He is the total X factor for this team. So I'm, again, pushing my chips in. Deebo will lead the team in total yards. That is a scorching hot take because it is accurate and it's one that will come true. And that does it for the first official episode of Turn Up the Heat. Guys, once again, make sure you go through, leave me your takes here. My opinions from the cold to hot scale, increasingly from cold to hot. I say Bill's already star. I think that's a bit of a cold take. John Bates is a top 10 tight end as far as impact. It's one that I like, but I can't really go to court and argue with it. 15 to 20, I think he's in that range. Josh Conerly can handle Micah Parsons. Now we're starting to warm up a little bit. Luke will be inactive by week 8. It hurts me to say it, but I do think this is trending in the right direction. And my hottest take, Deebo leads the team in total yards. Make sure you go to the comment section. Let me know what you think of everything that I said here. Leave a like on this video if you did enjoy. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. 70% of you who watched my last video are not subscribed. So I don't know what I got to do. Do I need to give away money? Because that's not happening. Not right now. Not until we get at least 10,000 subscribers. Then maybe that'll change a little bit. But for now, whatever you guys can do to support me, I would genuinely appreciate it. I'm going to go head on out of here. But as I always say, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.